Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. You know, the adventure of our lifetime. By the way, my name is Kevin, and you're watching and listening to Positive Talk. The adventure of our lifetime can take many forms. It can take forms of being an athlete, or being a garbage collector, or being, whatever's in your heart, whatever you're passionate about. And it's really is important. And there's Brachelle now. Brachelle, how are you today?
I'm good. I finally just got some food in me. How are you, Amy?
Hi, Brachelle. Nice to meet you. I'm doing great.
Very good.
And I would just say, just explaining that we all find our own way to contribute to everyone in a positive way. And Amy L. Bernstein is that kind of individual. She's an author. She's written a whole bunch of different types of materials. And she's got the latest book out, which I'm really excited to talk to her about because it is called Wrangling the Doubt Monster, Fighting Fears, Finding Inspiration. I love that. That's right up in our wheelhouse, isn't it, Brachelle?
Yes, very much so.
And so, Amy, welcome to the show. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me on today.
We're really looking forward to this conversation because, you've been on the planet for a little while now, and you've had some experience. By the way, Brachelle, her background is Baltimore, Maryland.
Yes, I actually recognize that. My dad was born there, and I still have family that lives there. So
Oh, fantastic.
Someday I'll go back.
I didn't have any idea. Have they been there for a long time?
Yeah, few generations as I know of.
Oh, very good. Ask them about the Baltimore Colts in the old days, and then we can have a conversation about that if you need me to, because I used to be a Baltimore fan from way back. I understand it's a beautiful city. That background that you've got there looks just amazing.
Yeah, it is. This is a great skyline. Yeah.
So, Amy, you're an author, and you've been writing. How long have you been writing for, and what motivated you to turn in the type of works that you'd like to do?
Well, there's a couple of different ways of getting at that question. I mean, writing is something that I think those of us who do a lot of it feel compelled to do. It's just what informs us. It's how we communicate with the world, how we explain the world to ourselves. It's just something we need to do to sort of see and hear ourselves and feel seen and heard by others. And I really made my living as a writer in many, many forms over many, many years before turning to this as a kind of a full-time freelance endeavor, meaning I finally got to be my own boss. But it's always been about the writing, probably. It's also the only thing I can do pretty well. I mean, I can't do math to save my life. I can barely manage fractions. So I had to be good at something, and this is the thing.
Well, but you're an excellent podcast and radio guest.
That is true. That is true. I love it. I love these conversations. That is very true. Okay, I'm good at a few things. See, there's the doubt monster, right? It's like, not good, not good enough.
Where did the term doubt monster come from? Did that come from somewheres inside of your head?
It did. It's in the book, somewhere in the book. I can't tell you exactly where. It's a short book, though, so it's not hard to find. And when the publisher and I were brainstorming much better titles than the original one I had come up with, that really came out, jumped forward to me. Well, wait a minute. This whole doubt monster thing. This is it. This is what it's really about. And it's a really great shorthand term for this kind of raging mindset that we have so much of the time about what's wrong with us. What are we doing wrong? Why are we feel lesser than or not capable of doing the things that we hope and dream about doing? And so that doubt monster is kind of in us all the time.
And that's never happened to you, Rochelle, has it? You've always been, you've never had any doubts at all, have you?
Never, never. That is so not me. No, I'm the person who probably questions things a little bit more because then I can usually get an explanation of how to fully understand it.
Mhm.
And don't you think that's maybe what ties into it is we have that because we just simply don't understand?
Yeah, I mean, asking questions has such positive power. It also has negative power, right? So it really depends
Right.
on how you're looking at it. I mean, if you're asking questions like, "Oh, am I good enough? Am I whatever? Am I smart enough? Am I strong enough?" You're asking questions sort of a doubt framework, but you can also pose those questions from a place of sort of strength and mastery, as in, well, if I do X, will I get the outcome that I really want and need, or should I make this little shift or tweak to get an even better outcome? So we can use doubt to kind of power us up, or we can always use it. We can also use it to kind of battle us. It can be both. It can be both and.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting to me that the doubt that we live with daily comes to us from other people, and oftentimes they mean well. Some of it comes from mom and dad who said, "No, you can't do that. Don't be silly," and things like that.
You are so right. There's a couple things going on with that. One is, we get those voices ingrained in us from such an early age. I have talked to people who have confessed that their own parents said things to them to like, "You're never going to amount to anything. Why would you do that? You're never going to be any good at it." And even when they get good at this thing they want to do, they can't believe it because that older voice is still there, right? That tape has been laid down and it's so hard to erase. That's a really difficult thing to contend with. And I think it takes a lot of work on oneself and maybe even some therapy to deal with that. But the other side of that, Kevin, is that too often we surround ourselves with people who are not our allies, but really our adversaries. And they're not supporting us and encouraging us and lifting us up. They're questioning us. They're saying our doubts out loud. They're making our doubts feel even bigger than they are or need to be. Even people who love us would say, "Well, why are you writing a book? Don't do that. Go do something practical. Why do you want to be a painter? Why do you want to start a company? You're just going to lose all your money." I mean, those are people who care about us, but they're coming at us with a doubt mindset. And that's not what we need. We need allies, not adversaries. So it's all there in the mix.
Well, I have
Because
to ask you, how does doubt tie in with um, fear?
Yeah. So closely related, right? So doubt can show up as anxiety, as procrastination, as analysis paralysis, where you can't make a decision, and even as depression. It also absolutely can show up as fear, probably often in the guise of you are afraid to make a move, to make a change, to make a commitment, because you're so worried it's not going to go well and it feels so out of your control that you're afraid to take that risk. And that's fear. That's pure fear. And we lose sight of the fact that we grow and gain so much when we take risks or get a little bit out of our comfort zone. There are so many upsides to doing that, and we have to lean into that side of it and remember those happy possibilities, and not just let fear sort of rule the roost, because it will if we let it, but we don't have to let it entirely do that.
Very
have you
good.
ever heard the term? Oh, I'm sorry, Rochelle. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Just agreeing. That was very good.
Oh, okay. Um, have you ever heard the term about fear, false evidence appearing real? Have you ever heard that one, Amy?
I don't think so. Say more about that.
Well, there is a segment of, especially in the New Thought movement, that will say it's an acronym for false evidence appearing real. But I have, and when they say false, what they're saying is that fear doesn't exist, that it's not a real thing. And I don't necessarily buy into that argument because when you're in the middle of fear, it seems very real. And just to say it doesn't appear to be real doesn't mean that it doesn't feel real. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I'm with you on this. I don't believe in pretending that strong feelings and scary feelings don't exist. And so I think fear is very real, and the roots of it are very real because fear is also protective, right? Fear keeps us from, chasing after the mastodon who's going to turn around and eat us, right? So fear is it's very real, and it's protective as well as detrimental. It's both, but we need to call it what it is, and this is why I'm on this crusade about doubt and self-doubt. These are very real things, and we I don't believe we conquer them. I believe we learn to, the way I put it is, we learn to walk with doubt, we learn to manage it, but it doesn't go away. Listen, I've been talking about this for a couple of years yet, and it's years already, and I catch myself in moments of incredible self-doubt still, even though I'm as aware of it as you can be. It's real. Yes, let's call a thing what it is.
Rochelle?
Yeah, I think that's very good to acknowledge, to try to not. There's conversations that we've had with people, and I see so many sides of it. There's always two sides to the story, and there's this part of it that's like we get to choose how real we make things, but also you have to be at a healthy guideline with yourself and not in denial. And I think that a lot of times when people doubt things, it pushes them to maybe deny a lot of reality because the reality is the hard truth. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And also, denial holds us back from making change because denial is like stuck in neutral where you cannot acknowledge what you're really feeling or what's really happening or take a close look at why it's happening. Denial just gets you kind of stuck in a not looking kind of a mode, like putting blinders on. And I understand why we get to that place sometimes. We can be paralyzed with that feeling, but we really have to look at what's going on, acknowledge these feelings, try and look at the root causes of them. I run a creativity workshop where I have artists from all kinds of backgrounds take a look at what has influenced them in their lives and how people have sort of seen them over time and labeled them, and looking at the sources of people's creativity, because we need to acknowledge where the fear and the labeling and the branding and the denial all comes from in order to grapple with it and then make the change in ourselves that we really want to see. So it's this is not easy work, but it is so worth doing. To be sort of become the people we can be and be as creative as we can be.
Yeah.
It seems to me like doubt is something that is inherent in all of us because we've been told all our lives, no, you're not good enough to do that. You can't do that. I had friends and family that told me 22 years ago, oh, you can't do the radio. What makes you think that you can do that? Well, you're crazy. Just stay where you're at, stay in your lane, make the money, and then you do that for 30 years, and then you can retire, and then you go play golf. I don't know what you do, but there are some of us that are not going, that we embrace the doubt, we embrace the fear as a negative aspect of getting through it to break through to the next level. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, Kevin. And you just gave that classic example of being surrounded by people who loved you, but were functioning as your adversaries and not your allies. And you had that inner core and that inner strength to persist. Now, not everybody does. Many people getting those messages from the people close to them will listen to that and not do the thing. How many people have I met who didn't dare to start writing fiction till they were in their 50s, 60s, 70s because they'd been told all their lives, that's silly nonsense, it's not for you, don't do it, you're not talented that way, go be an accounting major. I mean, all these messages they got, right, because of the kind of culture that we're in. And they didn't dare to try. And then finally they do, and they realize the joy of doing the thing that they always wanted to do. It's really hard to fight that. It's hard to fight that in a culture that privileges power and money and title and prestige, and you want to go off and pursue something that's not really related to or reflected by those things. There's something inside of us, those of us who persist, but we need to support those people who need that push.
And when we come back from this break, I would love to talk more about that. What separates some people from being willing and able to, because we all have the doubt. We all have fear. I had that when I decided to do the race, but the universe and everything made it in my possibility to be able to do that. And I pushed through it. Even though it cost me, sometimes the cost can be high.
Mm-hmm.
But it's necessary, at least in my world, to follow my heart and to do what I need to do in order for me, nobody else, because nobody else was doing it, just me. And it was important for me to be happy. Amy L. Bernstein. Okay, Amy L. Bernstein is with us, and said, "Rochelle, she's the staff linguist, so I need her to help me with that from time to time." But we need to take this quick break. It's just 45 seconds, and we'll be right back. Is that okay, Rochelle?
Yes, go ahead. Let's do it.
You became a real estate agent for freedom, success, and real momentum. So why are you still stuck waiting for closings to save you? I'm Ophir Adar, founder of Real Momentum, and I help agents like you become seven-figure earners. My first client that I coached, brand new agent, made $250,000 back in 2006. What's the secret? You feed your white wolf. That's the part of you that's bold and unstoppable and a closer and able to build rapport quickly. So click Get Listings at Real Momentum and let's unleash your real estate potential.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Rochelle is here. Rochelle is here, and our guest, Rochelle, is, so I don't massacre her name again,
Amy L. Bernstein, and the only reason I remember that is because when I was growing up, we watched the Bernstein Bears, and they're not really known of anymore, but I won't forget it, I promise. And Amy, we've been talking, Kevin had that question, and right before we jump into it, I have to ask, because people, I want to get into what separates certain people and the resilience of them, but I've heard somebody say recently, can't put a name on who, somebody in my family, and they said, well, doubt is all in your head. And I thought, well, doubt is all over you. So isn't doubt physical and mental and emotional?
What a great way of putting it. Yeah, first, yes, doubt is in all your head. It is all in your head. And as we well know, what happens in our heads happens in our bodies. Our bodies are part of our heads are part of our bodies, right? There are absolutely sort of physical manifestations of this kind of thing. I mean, we all know people who are, in fact, I help to coach writers who haven't yet done things like podcasts to help them get over that fear and anxiety about talking live as we're doing now, about being seen on camera, because they have such incredibly strong doubts. I'm going to mess up. I'm going to say something stupid. I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm not going to find the right words. I'm going to stumble all over myself. I'm going to just make an idiot of myself in front of people. Those doubts are so strong. There's definitely a physical component, right? You literally don't want to be seen. You'd rather sit back, not be seen, not be heard from, not tell your story, than to take that kind of creative risk. And so I think that's a great point. And Kevin, before the break, you were talking about, what's the reason that some people make this commitment or this leap, and some people don't. And you were talking about cost. And I think that some of us have a compulsion that in order to simply fulfill our own identity, our own sense of self and personhood, we need to do certain things in the world. And if we don't do those things, we feel so deeply unfulfilled, like we're not even fully walking around as people. And I think that's true of artists who make art. No one told them they had to, right? We do it because we have an inner need or compulsion in a positive sense. It's so necessary to how we function in the world as a human being in relation to other human beings. That gets us over the hurdle, at least most of the time, of the fear and the anxiety of making something or being rejected and all those other things that come with it. And we do it because we have to. I think that you need to be in touch with that in some way to confront the scariness, the risk, the fear, the doubts, and kind of power through that. And a lot of that, again, means doing a lot of this mental work on yourself to sort of figure out your real why and what you really, really want to do on this earth and with this life and with this part of your life. And once you commit to that, you have to also commit to living with the uncomfort and the discomfort that comes from risk and fear of the unknown. It's a bargain.
Indeed, it is. And a couple things. First of all, have any of the writers that are scared about being on a podcast or a radio show listen to this show, because I screw up all the time. It's part of my DNA. It's just one of those things, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's funny, Kevin, because whether it's in this context or another one, you say, oh, I screw up all the time. But, when you're dwelling in your own doubt and your own fear and anxiety, all you can see and feel is your own screw up. Like everybody else is fine. You're the one making mistakes. And you're the one who's so concerned about that. So they're going to give you all the grace in the world. Oh, we mispronounced this, or we did this, or whatever. They don't care. It's the self that feels so at risk. And so, again, it's that bargain we strike. If we have that deep, deep, deep compulsion to somehow fulfill ourselves in a particular way through an artistic endeavor or whatever it might be, again, it could be being an entrepreneur, it could be any number of things. We're going to be able to take the scary parts with the really fun, exciting parts, because otherwise we feel like we're not really fully living. It took me a long time to understand that.
Well, and the thing is, we are fully human. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, Michelle, this may be new for you. I don't know, but humans make mistakes. Did you know that?
Yes, lots of them, but that's how we learn. I think that framework of, I used to say that I hated learning, but I was always making mistakes. And in reality, I was probably learning a lot. The more I ran from it, the more it pushed me to learn. And somebody had told me a few months ago, well, you get to choose your hard. It's either hard the positive direction or it's hard the negative direction. And it's also hard if you don't do anything at all.
Right.
And there was just something that clicked in me that was like, well, if it's just going to be hard no matter what, and I'm still alive, then maybe I'll try to make it fun, you know? And I think to just be able to share that with other people and to be that person, um, because you see people, that they have all this hard stuff going on in their life, but they kind of just making light out of it. And also finding the balance and being able to say, yes, this is what's going on and this is hard. I'm not gonna act like this is all a joke because I don't want to face it. But um, I think sometimes when you doubt things and then it, I'm all that's popping into my head is a sense of trust. Because what's the opposite of doubting? Does that mean you trust something?
I think that's so interesting that you brought that up, because I think it's about trusting in yourself. This all starts with self. It all starts with finding your why, your inner, what gives you a sense of joy, purpose, what is your passion, what do you connect to? And you have to learn to trust that and your own gut and your own voice. And I think one of the things that's happening in our culture today, that trust is sometimes hard to find and locate and listen to, because if you're watching social media a lot, you see what looks like perfection held up to you in so many ways, and you compare yourself and you seem to fall short. So you forget how to trust your own inner sense of what works for you, what makes you whole. Because in a social media context, you see other people look famous or look perfect or having a perfect life and all these things, and we think of this as superficial, but it's very powerful. And in the writing world, all people see about online is people with bestsellers, and they're making a great living from their writing, and they're going to all these exotic locations to speak and read from the books, and they're living their perfect life, and you think, I'll never write like that. I'm never going to be that author. That's never going to happen for me. And then that's a step away from giving up. That's a step away from not trying. It's so false. It's a completely false cognate there, because that has nothing to do with connecting with your passion and being the person or the creative person that you can be by your own lights, right? Not compared to anybody or anything else. So we need to really make that break. It's very hard because of what's coming at us all the time.
Yep, it is.
Everybody wants you to be consistent and safe and to do what they want you to do. And sometimes it doesn't work to do that because you are. Let me ask you, when you started, and you've been writing for a long time, but when you started this work with this book, was it screaming at you that this book has to be written and you have to be the one to write it?
Yes. I've been such a lifelong doubter. I've lived with doubt inside me so deeply. It affected so many of my decisions and decisions I didn't make for so long. And it took me so long to see that. This is one of the advantages of getting older. You start to get a little bit of perspective on things. And yes, so I'm such a lifelong doubter. And once I was really writing full time and writing fiction and really being sort of, you're living on the bleeding edge in that world, and there's a lot of rejection, I realized that I needed to start writing down and literally talking out loud about this topic, because I knew that I wasn't alone. And the more I wrote about it and the more the book sort of poured out of me, and then the more I've talked about it, I know I'm right. I'm not alone at all. I've talked to people literally all over the world about this. And it really is a universal phenomenon or set of emotions that we just need to normalize and talk about more. And I'm so glad that I put this on paper so that it could be shared and discussed just the way we're doing right now.
And by the way, if you are curious what we've just been talking about, if you tuned in late, this is Wrangling the Doubt Monster, Fighting Fears, Finding Inspiration. And I want to talk about the finding inspiration part because it is so consequential when you think in terms of what you're passionate about, what you really want to do, and then you open yourself up to those possibilities. At least in my world, tell me if it's happened in yours, that great things tend to happen when you open up to the possibility and the intuition.
I wrote a piece on my Substack a couple weeks ago. That is an observation that success and failure walk through the same door, and you must leave the door open to both. Because if you want to close the door to failure, you will also close the door to success. And absolutely, when you open that door, good things happen. And also some not great things happen. But that's life. That's part of the bargain. We don't live on cloud nine, right? We live in the real world. But you need to leave that door open and allow both those things to walk in and present themselves to you, because so many opportunities will come your way. So I agree, Kevin. Yes.
Well, it's amazing to me that because I like to tell people I went through a bad country music song period after I did the show for almost a year, and I had to give it up, and then everything just kind of collapsed and fell apart. But you know what? That's part of life, and at the end of the day, I couldn't be more pleased about the people that I have in my life today versus the people, and they're good people, and I'm not disparaging them in any way, but they were not right for me to be who I truly am. Does that make any sense at all to you?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it goes back to this conversation around surrounding ourselves with allies and not adversaries, people who are going to be open and positive and supportive and encouraging and accept our faults and mistakes with grace, right? And not be critical and always finding the negative when everything that we do or who we are and what's wrong. And it's so important. It is so important to do that.
And Rochelle, you know what time it is?
It's break time, but that's okay because it's only a minute and 10 seconds. We've been talking with Amy L. Bernstein. She has the book, which is The Monster. Remind me, Amy?
Wrangling the Doubt Monster, Fighting fears, finding inspiration.
Yes. And when we come back from this break, I want to touch more base on the writing journey through that book.
Mhm.
And see, and Brichelle, even though she's very close to Mary Poppins, she's not perfect in every way. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. And there's my friend, Brichelle. She's right there. I got to fix my headset here. It's all messed up. Anyway, Amy L. Bernstein is our guest, and she is an author. And Brichelle was going to ask her a really cool question. And so I'll have you repeat the question, young lady.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I necessarily asked, but through the writing journey of your book, was there a moment of time when you had something happen, an experience that changed or shifted the way that you were writing the book, or something that you realized needed to be added that you learned?
Oh, that is a wonderful question. This book is kind of an odd duck. Unlike writing a novel, where those things are happening all the time. You know, you're making changes about the tone of the story and what's happening in the story and the pacing and the plot and the character and tearing things up and turning them inside out. This book is got a lot of kind of short text on each page, and it's not poetry. I think, unfortunately, that term sort of puts a lot of people off. They think it's not accessible, which isn't true at all. It's not poetry, but it's short text on the page. And so it's not specific. It's not chapters that follow one after the other. This is the kind of book where you could open literally to any page and you will take something in that will resonate with you. And you don't even have to read it in a particular order. So I think I was writing it and these thoughts about doubt were pouring out of me. And I challenged myself to keep describing it and seeing what it felt like and what really is doubt. How does it make us feel? And how does it make creative people feel? And what can we do with these feelings? I think I kept testing myself to see how many more ways I could say that without repeating myself. And so I did it up until I got to the point where I thought, okay, I think I've run out of ways to say this. I mean, who knows? If I put the thing aside for another 6 months, maybe I would have come up with twice as much. But instead, I kept it kind of short and sweet and maybe kind of just enough. And the thing that I did add very late in the game was at the back of the book, I added a couple of specific tips for kind of moving forward. But it's even since then, my sense of strategies and tips has grown a great deal. That's the thing about a book. I mean, right? It's like it's frozen in time at a certain point, and your own thinking might evolve, continue to evolve, but it doesn't show up in the book because the book was done. But yeah, I mean, as I was writing it, I think I kept saying, what is this? Like, I've never liked this before. Like, what is this? And we end up, my publisher and I, he hired a terrific illustrator. So there are pictures in the book that help create a visual lightness to go along with all these sort of deep thoughts about doubt. And it's turned into a wonderful balance. And I don't know that I even imagined that at the outset when I was writing, but somewhere at some point, I think it just began to seem like, oh, well, this probably lends itself to illustration. That would be cool.
Where did you get all of the the little quotes and the thoughts from. Are
Oh
those
yeah, so
different too?
right. So in addition to what I wrote, on almost every page there is an opposite page that has what we call a pull quote. It's a quote from an artist or another creative person down through the centuries, multiple races, backgrounds, genders. So I researched that really hard. I didn't go to the typical superficial sources people just go to for those things. I just searched and searched through lots of different sources and books and materials to find quotes that just really jumped out at me and helped to augment what I was trying to say. And I think it turned out to be a nice balance. So you end up feeling like I'm in conversation with all these other people, artists and creative people over the centuries from different cultures. So I think it's cool. I'm really glad I did that. I did come up with that like early on. Maybe I didn't
Yeah, that
trust
is amazing.
my own voice, but I'm glad I did it.
Yeah.
And by the way, we're talking about Wrangling the Doubt Monster, fighting fears and finding inspiration. Speaking of inspiration, I am inspired to say this. If you're thinking about buying this book, and because you have a lot of doubt and you want to learn a little bit more about it, this is what I want you to do. I want you to buy the book. And then I want you to take the book and you put it on the coffee table or on the bedstand or someplace near you. Okay. I want you to leave the book closed. And then I want you to think in terms of what information would be most beneficial for you to have at this moment. And then I want you to take the book and open it to a random page, and I will bet you dollars to donuts that it's going to be talking about exactly what was on your mind. Because that's, in my world, that's how it happens. Amy, does that make sense to you?
Kevin, I absolutely love what you just said. It's so true. That is how I wrote it. I wrote it to operate that way. It is a book that will give you that sense of feeling seen and heard on every page. So you can open to any page and you will take something from it. I think at any time. So yes, that's a great advice.
And don't you think that makes sense, Rochelle?
Yeah, and I'm thinking about inspiration because a lot of people thinking about doubt are probably like, well, what's inspiring about that? Um, and I think you also, I wanted to go back and how we talked about how fear is also a good thing. All these things that we label, oh, this is good, this is bad, this is good and bad. Those are the things we can maybe learn to drop, not to title what our title already is in place of in front of us. As we keep talking today and as I keep learning, it's not just one title. It starts with one thing and that becomes a title on top of another title on top of another title. And as you kind of get past the whole doubt and look inward more to yourself, it's inspiring, but from within. As you're able to see things around you, you realize what is inside of you. And I think that is incredibly inspiring and it makes you just want to be better and feel better and kind of grasp more closer to that, right?
Yeah, and yes, I think that when you're reading this book and some phrase is jumping out at you, there's this shock of recognition where you go,
Mhm.
oh, I felt this. I never put it into words before. I have felt this thing. And you suddenly feel like, oh, this is real.
Yeah.
So I'm validated. It's okay that I feel this. And hopefully on that page, I'm giving you some way of sort of feeling good about it or sort of putting it to good use or rising above it in some way, shape, or form. But yes, I mean, there is so much to be said. So much of inspiration comes from feeling seen and feeling respected and just being seen for who you are. I think that's inspiring, and that leads us to feel inspired in other ways, because the opposite of that is feeling so misunderstood and unseen, and it's really hard to feel inspired under those circumstances.
Very true.
Ladies, when you're talking about fear and you're talking about doubt and stuff, it is a universal thing, and sometimes it just doesn't go away. I got a real quick story for you. There's a guy that I know, and you all know him too, He's been doing what he does for the last 60 years. He still, if you ever see this person perform, he still runs out onto the stage because he's got terrible stage fright and he's got doubt that he can do this and he's scared to death. He has been in the spotlight for 60 years. His name is Ringo Starr, and he would tell you that if you talk to him. So it's not that it goes away. He's able to combat it and to realize that it's not going to take hold of him, and he's going to fight through it. Is that what we need to do, Amy?
First, I know so much about the Beatles, and I didn't know that Ringo particularly had stage fright. So I'm just taking that in.
Hey.
But I mean, his desire, his joy to perform, his whole life's been about performing, right? And he just made all these new albums at the age of 85, right? He's got another one coming out, I think. His joy, the joy he takes as a human being in performing and sharing his music with other people, is greater than that fear. And so it doesn't mean the fear isn't there. It means he has other ammunition to sort of overpower it. And we can find that balance in ourselves. If we have that strong desire to do the thing, to reach the other side, to share something, to make art or whatever it is, you can power through. That's why I talk about walking with doubt. That's what Ringo's doing, right? He's walking with his doubts. They're not going away, but he's able to manage them and do the thing that he loves the most.
And he's been told incessantly by people, oh, you're great, you're this, you're that. But a lot of times, no matter how great you are, you don't necessarily believe it until you convince yourself of it. And until you get there, you're always going to have that doubt. And he'll tell you that it's actually a good thing because it helps him perform better.
Yeah. Well, there's growth every single time he does it. He's growing in a new way, a new shape, a new form. I think doubt can be such a positive thing. Otherwise, we may not understand the meaning to things, or um, we might not feel the inspiration coming out of the other side. Sometimes I see people do things and there's not much emotion or even thought attached to it, going into it or coming out of it. And I think it is kind of beautiful how when you have a little more doubt going into something and then you do achieve it and you push through it and you accomplish that thing, it makes it just that so much better. It becomes something special. And I think it is a great way to learn, because people who don't doubt things tend to have to kind of learn over and over and over and over again. And I don't know why that is. Do you, Amy?
That's an interesting observation. Well, I think people who are not being honest with themselves or in touch with what they're really feeling and why they're feeling it are definitely destined to sort of repeat mistakes or get stuck or be in denial, because denial is just not looking honestly at yourself, sort of really what's going on. And we do that to protect ourselves and out of fear and protect other people and all kinds of reasons. But one of the things that I've come across in my conversations around this is how men and women process this quite differently. It's very easy for me to generalize and say that a lot of the men that I talk to don't even acknowledge doubt as a thing. It's like, they'll just say, oh, that's not my problem. And what I'm always thinking is, well, of course it is. You're a human being, but you process it so differently, and you're not talking about it, and you don't have a vocabulary to talk about it, that you haven't even put your finger on it. And they don't, I think it's there, but they don't see it. And I think women tend to be much, much, much more in touch with some of these things. I know I'm generalizing, and I know that there are men out there, including you, Kevin, who don't see it that way, grapple with it differently. But it's as a generalization, there seems to be a lot to that.
No, I couldn't agree with you more, because most guys are like, oh no, I'm not scared of nothing. I can go and I can do anything. But the reality is, the fear pervades everyone, and it depends on how you deal with it. And I would like to say, and tell me if you think of this is correct, as we get ready to go to our last break, which is, if you aren't feeling doubt, if you're not feeling fear about whatever the thing is that you want to do, you're not trying hard enough. Because if you are, if things are your passion and you're not fearful of taking it to that next level, then I don't think that you've really tried hard enough. And I'd love your opinion when we come back from this. This is just going to be about 39 seconds. So then we'll be right back. Are you looking for a powerful way to grow your brand while making a real difference? Well, Positive Talk is the perfect platform to align your message with inspiration, hope, and meaningful conversations. By sponsoring Positive Talk, your brand will reach an engaged audience that values positivity and connection. People who want to support companies that share their values. Take this opportunity to showcase your business in a space that uplifts, inspires, and creates lasting impact. Don't wait. Email me, Kevin at kmmedia.pro today to learn how you can partner with us and spread positivity while growing your brand. And welcome back to Positive Talk. Michelle, I got to tell you, we have a team, Amy, that works with us, and they help us find some of the best people on the planet. And you are one of them. I want to thank you for coming on the show. What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, it's amazing. I think that the way we're able to focus on the subject and make such a light of it, and also bring in all kind of the nitty gritty things, because they all kind of follow along and they make us who we are. And if we're seeing those parts of us as negative, then we're not fully loving ourselves, and we're not giving ourselves the chance to expand, to grow, to have these experiences. I've kind of come to the point in my life where I I used to say, okay, what's next? Like kind of just messing around with whatever was going to happen and how I was going to deal with it. But I think that you can choose before that happens of where you set yourself. Because lots of things that I've done in my life, okay, what am I going to do next in my life? Or what's this next step or whatever? When you're making a new decision, the first thing in your mind is, are you sure? I don't know about that. What are people going to say? Well, what if I don't even like it? All these kind of things, rather than to push fully forward and to just be a little bulldozer. I think there's definitely both sides to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, the word that comes to mind is intentionality, right? Which I know gets tossed around a lot, but that's a real facet of being incredibly aware of what you want and what you're going to go after and what you're willing to do to get it. And to pick up your point, Kevin, from before the break, I think what we're really talking about here is, you've got to do what scares you. This is a really interesting lesson for me. I think in the later part of my life is to do what scares you, which is, you said you're not trying hard enough if you're not feeling the doubt and the fear, and I say it's about upping your risk level. Take bigger risks, and I don't mean obviously putting yourself in physical danger risks, other kinds of risks. Taking bigger psychological risks, emotional risks with our talents, risks with our time. And those things should scare us, but in the best possible way. Was, as you noted, Rochelle, that does fuel our growth. Taking risk fuels growth, and doing what scares you fuels growth. And these are important things to do. And doubt will accompany you along the way, and that's okay.
And I got to tell you, when you have doubt and you have fear, and then you do the thing that you're going to do, and it works and you succeed, there is no better feeling than that.
Yeah.
That's so true. I mean, I would never have sold the novels that I've sold if I didn't move on despite all the doubt, all the doubt. The good things don't happen unless you just sort of allow yourself to see it, feel it, and carry on.
How
So I
would
got to
you?
ask. Oh, go
Oh
ahead,
yeah, go ahead, Ken.
Michelle. No, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, if somebody came to you and they were like, Amy, but you don't understand because this, and that, and you realized that they had all the other steps rather than the initial step, which was accepting the doubt. I've seen lots of people get so good at walking with it, as you say, but they're not accepting of it, so they're kind of still fighting it.
Mhm.
How would you help somebody kind of cross that barrier of comfortability with it?
Well, I think the answer is don't fight it. Live with the discomfort. We need to learn to live with discomfort in many aspects of our life, including our sort of creative life. And so you need to live with that discomfort. We're not meant to be in comfort all the time, because then you're also kind of numbing yourself and like not taking those risks, right? So if you're going to do things that scare you, you're going to live with discomfort. If you're going to acknowledge your doubt, you're going to live with discomfort. This is all part of the process. It's also part of being human. And we need to, it's also that gets back to that idea of there's one door, and success and failure walk through the same door. This is the bargain. We have to take this sort of mixed bag all together.
Very good.
Amy and Purcell, I got to tell you a story from way back 100 million years ago when I was young. And that is, I was on the football team. And we had a guy who was a very good football player. But every time just before a game, and this became a ritual, he would go in front of the cheerleaders and throw up on the track because he was so scared about the being in the game and was nervous and all that kind of stuff. So it became kind of a thing. But then he went out and he played great. And so he didn't stop. And he didn't say, "Oh, I threw up on the track. I'm not going to go out there. I'm scared to death of that." He fought through his fear, dealt with it, and then did a great job. And I think there's a lesson in there for all of us, isn't there?
Yes, that is what we wish for everybody, right? And his desire to play in that game, to be the athlete that he knew he could be, to be part of that team, his desire was so strong that he was able to do both. He was able to feel the doubt, feel it physically, right? Not just emotionally, and yet go on to have the joy that came from playing. So we can do both. And I also want to make the point, though, that not all of us are cut out to do both all at once, right from the get-go. We have to step to it sometimes. It can take people a long time to get to that point where they're ready to try. I just don't like to see people not try, but they may not get there all at once. They may have to step up to it.
Yeah. Well, and I want to touch on what Kevin said earlier too, because um, I think maybe it's if you're doing something that doesn't really make you feel doubt, then what positive is it also making you feel? You've got both sides, you're supposed to. Then maybe it's not that you haven't pushed yourself far enough out there. Maybe it's because you're doing the wrong thing, and haven't touched maybe deep enough on what it is you're spending your time doing, or maybe need to do it differently. Would you agree with that?
I think that may be the case sometimes. But there's another idea that I've been thinking a lot about, which is a little bit different to that, but adjacent to that, which is learning to revel in your own competence. So it's this notion that you might actually get quite good at something, and you can perform it with joy and not feel particularly doubtful or fearful because you have a sense of mastery and competence. And that's something that we should take a lot of pleasure in, that we should celebrate, particularly if it's something that you didn't always feel that way about. So I think reveling in competence is a great place to be, where the doubt is at its lowest ebb, and that's a good thing. But it'll come back in other ways and for other things. But it's great to reach that point where that is not the thing that's really uppermost.
Very good point. Thank you.
It really is an incredible journey that we're all on, and I want everybody to go get the book because I think it can help you be inspired. Wrangling the Doubt Monster is the name of the book. Fighting fears, finding inspiration. And if you want to go talk to Amy, go to Amy amywrites.live. Right? Yeah, maybe.
Right.
It's the same word. It's the same word. I say .live, but it's spelled the same way. amywrites.live, amywrites.live, LIVE.
Kevin can't spell or pronounce things very well, that's for sure.
And the word can be said both ways, right? I just always thought of it as live.
I just go ahead.
I just saw too, sorry, Amy, that you had the blog spot on your website. Do you have your own podcast or something that you're doing as well? Or are you just kind of updating your life?
No, I'm a terrific podcast freeloader. I let you all do the work, and I just come on and gab. I do publish a Substack. I do publish on Substack every week, and it is all about doubt and creativity and anxiety and all the things that go with it. And so people are welcome to visit my Substack. I love it when they do. They can see all my content for free if they choose. So if you're the kind of person who likes Substack and you know what it is, you can find me there. It's actually called Doubt Monster, or you can search my name. And there's links on my website as well.
That is just phenomenal. And so I sense, since you're a writer, there's another book in you. What's coming next?
I actually am really thrilled that I just signed a contract very recently for a novel that I don't have a pub date yet. It might not be out till 2027. You know, it's a slow industry, right? So I'm very excited about that. And I'm just in the very early stages on another one, which I can't talk about because it's too early. And I also have another idea for another nonfiction book. So hopefully I'll make the time, because there's always a lot going on.
So you just signed a contract? Is that what I heard?
Yes, with a publisher for another book that
And
thank you.
Congratulations. That is so cool. And I can't think of somebody that I would wish more success than you, because you really are talented, and you've been a great guest here. And if anybody if you want Amy to be on your radio show or podcast, I highly recommend her.
Thank you, Kevin. You're both been very kind. It's been a wonderful conversation.
I've enjoyed it greatly. Rochelle, anything else that you'd like to add?
Yeah, just thank you for your time. I'm very excited to see what you come up with next in the conversations. I'm going to order that book and just place it in random places around my house and tell everybody, if you're having a moment of time, here's this book. It'll be right here, and you can open it when you need, because I think that will just be helpful for all of us doing this together. And before we touch base again on all the ways to reach you, do you have a message you'd love to share with our audience before we go?
I've really lived it, which is, don't give up. If you have a goal, if you have a vision and it feels like a real stretch, do not give up. Chip away at it. You will get there if you really want to, if it means a lot to you. Take the setbacks as they come and just keep on plowing through.
Very, very good. And again, go check out her book. I always want to say the Wrangling Monster. I don't know why it makes me want to say that, but go find everything about her, the blog, the happenings, the coaching, and creativity life at amywrites.live. And yeah, just thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this work. And we wish you all the best. And if you would love to, we would be honored to have you back on the show in a few months, just to check back in and see where life is at.
Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you, Kevin. I'd love to be your guest anytime.
Very good.
And I got to tell you, you said that in my world, the most magical thing is that if you find your passion, and this is for everybody, when you find your passion, when you find your purpose, never quit, never stop. And if your purpose and your passion changes a little bit, go with it, but never quit, never stop, because this is who you are and this is why you're here. Do you agree with that, Amy?
1000%.
And I want to thank, and that's why I won't let Rochelle quit, because she can't. And I want to thank everybody for being here. Amy L. Bernstein, it's been great to have you here.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Rochelle. It's been great.
Thank you. We'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin@kmmedia.pro.